Mm-hmm.
By the way, that draft confused the shit out of me, and I have no idea
Hello?
how. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? No? What the heck?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Good. Good. That draft was confusing as shit.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
how I
can
was
agree
getting
with
like some of the great players so late, and I was like, how are.
Carter didn't even take another QB until the last round.
Yeah.
He had one quarterback, and it was Pat Mahomes. I'm like, damn, you're going to rely on him a lot.
I think.
Ooh.
I feel like I ended up with a fairly decent team.
Yeah, you got a good team. Richard's team was going good until they just didn't draft a quarterback for him.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. But yeah, I got pretty much a pretty good starting, and then I got some good rotational stuff for bye weeks, and
Yeah.
it's about week to week matchups anyway. So I got to go against Hunter in week one, and then figure that out who he's got, and then
I
see
just
what's
like
up.
I cannot figure out the point. Like the points were like throwing me off because it's like some guys that I've never even heard of before were like projected like 2,000 points. I
That,
was like, what the
that
fuck?
yeah, that D Davis dude from LA Rams, I'm like, that is not right. It literally had him having 7 catches this year and
Yeah.
having that many points. I'm like, that
Only
doesn't.
return
That's
yards? That's crazy.
I have no idea what the. I'm like, I'm not staying away from that because that's just like an app error to me.
Yeah.
Um, I already did the intro, so all we got to do is click start recording. But let me hear you talk a little bit there. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit
Okay.
here.
I do need to pull up the weekly news, and then I also have a. I forgot my paper, so I'm flying a little bit blind, but I know it's news, hard knocks, reflection of the um, Chiefs, and then like cuts and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was pretty sure, but I wasn't 100% sure. And then I got a player for you to pick or to find out who he is. I just gotta
Okay.
remember.
Check.
Yeah.
Check. 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 Keep talking there.
Okay. Then I'm gonna pull up the weekly news here or the past
Hello.
news.
Hello. 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 Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
I got the processing noise suppressor on yours, and it sounds way better
Okay.
in
Cool.
here. Um. Yeah, so I think that'll help a little bit. And then I've got the levels to where when I'm talking, it's pretty similar to where you're at. So I
Cool.
think we should be in better shape than we were last week with
Let's
the
see.
main recording. And I can also just take your track and process it. I just didn't do it last week because I just didn't want to mess with it.
Right.
Um, but so yeah, it'd be intro, and then I'm gonna click here, start here, and then I'll kind of cue you in.
All right. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling up.
Yep. You'll have a couple
Uh,
seconds after I start here. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to episode 7. Of Barely Maintaining here. So, as usual, we'll start out with the newsworthy headlines, NFL league discussion stuff. What do you got for us, Ryan? Anything interesting?
let's see. Cuts. More cuts and more cuts just so rosters can be 53 man. Let's see. Lions sign wide receiver Tim Patrick and Allen Robinson to practice squad. Zach Taylor on Jamar Chase sitting out of practice. Will continue to take it day to day. Let's see. There was another. There's quite. I mean, obviously, there's quite a few. Steelers name Russell Wilson starting quarterback for the regular season over Justin Fields. I don't know if we're really surprised about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I saw that. I was gonna say I just kind of saw that one coming.
Yeah, and then Chief signing ex-Patriots starter Bailey Zappi to practice squad, and then Samaje P. Ryan, NFL practice squad tracker, team by team. Oh, no, man, sorry. Uh, Cowboys signed Dalvin Cook. Actually, give me 1 second because my headset just died.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Oh, give me 1 second. Oh, sorry. Uh, Cowboys signed Dalvin Cook. One second. Technical difficulties. All right. Can you talk for a second?
Can you hear me?
Yep, there we go. Cool. Damn. So frustrating.
Oh, dude, tell me about it. Because like before you got on, I was getting all set up and stuff, and Bluetooth connected my phone to the Tascom. Nothing, dude. Could not hear nothing. I literally had to shut everything down and just turn it back on, and then reconnect everything, and it was fine. I was like, cool. No fucking reason at all for that, other than it pissed me off.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said Dalvin Cook picked up by the Cowboys, and then I stopped it right there.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready, let me know, and then I'll count you in.
Yep.
Okay, 3, 2.
All right. And there's also Broncos GM George Patton. Zach Wilson has starter traits all over. Let's see. Rams, Sean McVay on running back. Kyron Williams returning punts. Another opportunity for him to get touches. Just nonstop. Wow. Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb says he won't be a step behind after holdout. Any ill will with Jerry Jones behind us. I feel like you have to say that.
Yeah. I mean, he has to sign your checks for one. I was going to say, what do you think about the holdout mattering for his performance? 'Cause he's got what? 12 days, 13 days, I think, with the team.
I mean, if it was anybody else, and if he was like new to the team, I would say it's bad. But I mean, they played together for what 4 years now,
Yeah.
and he's one of the best wide receivers in the game. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's
He's a
take it or leave
professional.
it. Really, to be honest, I think he does need to take all the reps he can now because he's gonna need it for just getting in shape and whatnot. But I think he'll be all
Yeah.
right.
I saw like he actually has like the numbers of like being the best um wide receiver for Cowboys ever, which
Really?
is impressive, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough feat with the. Yeah, that's
Um, I think that I said that I read that Dalvin Cook article, and it said that they'll probably sign him to the practice squad and kind of ramp him up.
yeah. I mean, isn't it crazy how kind of far he fell off?
Quick, I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, it's yeah. I I I think he's probably still got it. If you ask me, if I was betting one way or the other, I'd put my money on him being a pretty reliable back still.
Yeah, I mean, I would too. It's just crazy to me. Like, I mean, for the Vikings, he was the guy for a few years, and all of a sudden he kind of fell off and got hurt a couple times, obviously, but it seemed like he just fell quick.
Yeah, yeah. Because when he was on the Vikings, it kind of felt like when we were playing him, it was like, oh man, another Adrian Peterson type guy that just was picking up 3, 4, 5 yards every time he touched the ball.
Yep.
Yeah, injury I think was mostly kind of probably the
Because
biggest issue.
he tore his ACL a couple times, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did one and then did the other.
Uh,
I have to look into it, but yeah,
let's see. Also, just as I'm going through this, Manti Te'o's got a fantasy like breakdown on the NFL Network.
oh really?
Yeah, just a random side note.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I actually saw he was comparing Caleb to Steph Curry.
oh, really?
Yeah, he said it because of the way he wears his mouthpiece, not because of the way he plays football, really, or
Right.
anything.
See, we got a couple injuries. Running back AJ Dillon out for the season. I mean, he was probably in that backup role behind Josh Jacobs. So now they kind of have to have somebody find that secondary
They
spot.
always they always ran too, though. Like they
Yeah,
were definitely a kind of a running back committee,
yeah. It
running
always
back
seems
by
like it.
committee.
Odell Beckham to begin season on pup list. At least 4 games, I believe, for the Dolphins. I forgot he got signed, to be honest.
Yeah, I
I,
don't see him. I mean, he's probably still got some left in the tank, but yeah, he's probably not giving you 16. Obviously, not giving you 16 games this year for sure. But I don't think he. I mean, just at his age and what he does. I mean, making like the cuts and the routes and stuff is, and then taking the hits is all so hard on your
yeah,
body.
yeah. Browns rookie defensive tackle Mike Hall Jr. placed on commissioner's exempt list following domestic violence arrest. Just great,
Yikes.
great for a rookie. Titans
Yeah.
acquire linebacker Ernest Jones from the Rams for a 5th-round pick. Panthers cut former second-round wide receiver Terrace Marshall after 3 seasons. And then there's a couple more here. Kadarius Toney being waived. I thought that was kind of surprising. Me and you talked a little bit about that, kind of as it happened, but that's
Yeah.
just. I mean, I get like he's not like the greatest all the time, but I feel like he stepped in every now and then.
Yeah, he was kind of like one of the heroes of the last Super Bowl. But he did have a ton of drops last year, and probably continued it on in preseason or in training camp.
Yeah,
So I can't like he's another one where I'm like I'm not surprised, but I am like he's kind of a big name to be on the market, and we'll probably get on another team,
I
but
would think so.
also understandable. And they didn't keep Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
Chiefs don't care. You
right.
know what I mean?
They'll move on to
They'll
the next
they'll
one.
put they'll put another guy in there, and they'll make him at least good enough to keep the ball moving.
Yeah. Let's see. Cardinals released Desmond Ritter months after a trade. Bills released
Yeah,
former Olympic gold medalist Gable Stevenson. Titans released former first round cornerback Caleb Farley. Let's see. Commanders are renaming their home field. Let's see. I think it's Northwest Stadium. If was that what it was or what did it? Oh yeah, what'll be known as Northwest Stadium.
it was like FedEx Field or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Forever.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe it was something different than that. Oh, there's been a bunch of turnover there the last few years as far as name changes and ownership and all that. So,
Yeah.
but that's another thing that I'll just bring up as a side note. Like I was listening to NFL Network and they were talking about teams and people moving teams and stuff because the city wanting to help pay for a stadium. It's like if you're the Bears or buy the stadium, who cares?
Yeah.
Build the stadium. You'll rent it out. You'll get Taylor Swift. You'll get all these concerts. You'll get Super Bowls. And on top of it, it makes your franchise worth so much more money.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, own the property. Buy it. Don't. Who cares about taxpayer money?
Yeah.
You can get investors and that stuff. And yeah, so that's just a side note because I heard them talking about it. And it's like, yeah, why? I mean, just it's an investment. How can you go wrong with property?
Yeah.
Especially now when it's like, if Chicago's one of the huge markets in the United States, and it's like you get a lot of stuff there with World Cup. Not that you can get a World Cup game, but World Cup coming through and Olympics and all the stuff that is happening, in America over the next couple of years. It's like Chicago could be that destination.
Yeah.
If you had a spot where they could, utilize a big stadium.
Another Patriots are waiving quarterback Bailey Zappi. Kenny Moore calls lessons of cut downs.
The Bailey Zappi era is finally over, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, that was Belichick's replacement for Tom Brady, really, wasn't it? He picked him.
Malik Willis from the Titans to the Packers in exchange for a 7th round. And then there was one more. Oh yeah, the Bears Montez Sweat in better spot than with Commanders. It was a toxic heavy toll just losing is what he was quoted saying.
Really?
Yeah. And then that kind of rounds it up. I mean, there's obviously just so much that happened with the fact that there was cuts to make rosters, but fairly kind of. I'm not going to go through every single one of those by any means, because that would be 3 episodes long.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and honestly, there's obviously a ton of stuff currently happening because of the getting down to the roster sides.
Yeah.
So what we got coming up here, preseason game with the Chiefs. Talk about that, the players that have been cut, moving forward, and who we've been picking up to get depth, and then of course the Hard Knocks episode 4, which I gotta say was a kind of a tearjerker for me.
Yeah.
So that preseason game with the Chiefs, what'd you think? No starters out there on either side, but I think pretty solid performance, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the defenses played really well, or the defense players, and then Adrian Colbert had some good plays, and then we just scored a bunch of points again.
Yeah. Agent looked solid. He looks like he is definitely a solid number 2 if Caleb plays like he has been during the preseason.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we definitely are starting to get it figured out on special teams, like the kickoff and stuff. I feel like they've been tinkering around and seeing what works, what doesn't, what they want to run out there. Do you want a bunch of guys that block, or do you want a bunch of speed guys? How do you want to do it? So I feel like that that was kind of on display a little bit. Defense every level of defense, I think we're very deep now. Um, maybe not so much on that defensive line at starter position, but I think it's one end or another. It's gonna be by a committee, so to speak, a little bit. And and I think you see that on the preseason, right? Because they've been rotating him out,
Yeah,
and you've
I
been
mean,
seeing quite a few guys.
it's been pretty fluctuating on who's out there. I mean, they will. I mean, each set of downs, there it seems like they're rolling out a second, another line.
Right. Yeah. Um, and then of course, we're getting penetration, which you didn't see a ton of over the last few years. That's kind of there, and that helps, especially with the secondary that we got. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
there's some guys that are getting slept on back there. I feel like.
yeah, it just seems like we're very well rounded. There's not really and a giant hole that we're seeing. Like last year, we could kind of point direction of maybe the offensive line here, or quarterback play here, or defensive line until Montez Sweat got there later in the year. You can kind of point those directions, and as of right now, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of places I could point that we're not kind of set at.
Yeah. Maybe again, like you would like a big name um on the end. Um but it's like maybe there's somebody that won't be a big name because
Yeah,
of the position they're getting put in. Um like I think he's that I keep mentioning him, Austin Booker's getting slept on, and there's Hardy as well. Is like kind of had a standout um preseason. Um, and we talked about it before. It's crazy because we'll talk about that in the next segment, the players that got caught and stuff. But man, I wanted to keep all the quarterbacks and just have some guys on the practice squad. But we definitely moved on from some of them. Um,
yeah,
I saw that we did add, I think Austin Reed back to the practice squad.
yep. I was gonna mention that to you.
Yeah, which is good. So what happened to Rippin? Do we have any word of where he ended up?
I haven't seen him go anywhere. Which I was kind of like I said, like he kind of said, I was surprised he didn't go anywhere because it seemed like he played really well.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I haven't seen him sign anywhere by any means. Um, which is odd.
yeah. Yeah, he's out there, I guess.
And then I mean, I'm just looking at the 53 man roster here. I just because I mean Dexter, Hardy, Booker, Robin. I mean all of these guys just seem like it just seems like we could have a pretty good defensive line, and with Booker on the other side of Sweat, like I think he's gonna like you said, I think he's gonna fill that role. I think
Yeah,
he seems to be like obviously he's not a Montez Sweat yet. Like Montez Sweat is one of the better defensive ends in the league right now. But I mean, I think you can learn from him and become
I was gonna say, I
that
think
solid.
having him to learn from makes him better, right?
Yeah,
Just by association, for one, and two, you got a double team Sweat,
yeah,
so that frees up other guys, right?
yeah. I mean, Sweat's stats might not be crazy this year, but I I think that opens it up for everybody else.
Yeah. Um, I saw a tweet from somebody, I can't remember who it was, but he was saying that there's a couple guys he feels like is on the squad because Ryan Poles drafted them and not because they deserve necessarily to be on the squad, like Velus Jones Jr. and I think Dominic Robinson was another one that I mentioned. Um, but again, I think um, for the most part, where we are as starters is pretty solid. And Willis Jones is kind of like a utility player. They're trying to figure out where he fits in. I'm nervous if they put him back there returning kicks.
Yeah, and it's not bad to have as long as he's good. And I mean, he showed some really good steps forward with that running back game. But like a Cordell Patterson type player, like That's
Yeah,
not bad to have at all. He can line up anywhere. He can be out
right.
there. He can motion out to wide receiver. He can motion back into running back. Like, I mean, he can be all over the field and do pretty well at running it. Obviously, he. I did notice though, there's quite a few plays where he's trying to run like a power back instead of a speed shifty back. Like, have you noticed that? Like, he'll run into piles and stuff. It's like,
Yeah,
why are you're faster than everybody on the field. Like, what are you doing? Like, run
right. And
around me.
then the one on the plays, it might have been the touchdown or one of the long runs he had. He kind of did do that. He kind of
Yeah,
juked around and like basically outrunning it, like a guy to the corner. It's like that's what you need to be doing.
yeah. Not throwing yourself into a pile and hoping to get through it. Like, you're not that style of runner. We're not asking you to
Right.
be that type of runner either.
Yeah. Yeah. So as far as the game went, Rippon was 9 for 13 for 106 yards. Austin Reed 8 for 10 for 63 yards, and Badgen was 3 for 6. He obviously knew that he has that second QB2 role locked up.
Yeah.
Uh,
His little
what
dive
else?
into the end zone was pretty sick.
Bayless had 13 rushes for 111 yards, an average of 8.5, and had a touchdown. So, I mean, if you're doing that every game,
Yeah.
you're good.
There's a couple of scary parts of that game too. Tyler Scott's freaking head being ripped around halfway.
Yeah.
That was scary. And then oh, now I'm gonna forget his name. I made a note about it. Douglas Coleman the third. His scary incident on the sideline that we had.
Yeah.
Where he got hit, or he went to make a hit and his neck stayed up and got carted off the field.
The word is he's okay though, right?
Yeah. From everything I've heard. I don't know that he
Yeah,
made the
and
team
those
though.
those situations are hard too because those guys are trying to make the team, and you might get injured like that and then get
Yeah,
cut. So,
which
like,
happened
yeah,
because I think he got cut, which
right.
sucks.
Yeah, I think I saw that he had an injury settlement or something.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah, I think some of those guys. Honestly, that's one thing we'll talk about when we get to the hard knock section. But Ian Wheeler, it kind of saved him getting injured almost.
Yeah, I think that saved Vallis Jones Jr.'s spot. To be honest.
I agree. I definitely. Well, and I mean, just personal perspective, I like Ian Wheeler like more than I like Bayless Jones Jr. just because I don't trust Bayless from his ball handling.
And
He's just.
and I want him to prove me wrong too. Like Vallis Jones Jr., I want to see him be
Yeah.
great.
I'm dying to see like why this man is still on the team.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
Because
because he kept putting him back there, and he just kept not doing a good job
yeah.
of ball security mostly, you know.
Yeah.
And I'd rather you just fair catch it or let it be downed than you fumble it around and then definitely
Right.
give up the ball to the other team.
Yeah.
What else happened in that game?
What was it? So
No Chief starters either, so we didn't see them. But
yeah.
it was nice to see that we scored a ton of points on a team that did win the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah,
The
I
game
saw
ended
some
34-21.
stat that because we were plus like 68 for points, and like the last or any team that's like plus like some certain point is always made it to the playoffs. So and we were in the last like however many teams to go plus, I think it was like plus 60.
I was gonna make that confession to you today. Like, I've tried so hard to just not be optimistic and be realistic because we talk about it every week. Like, no rookie QB has even been to the Super Bowl. They've all been to the championship game. So that close, but yeah. So it's watching them this preseason. It's made it really hard to not be over the top. And I felt like it before. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
And everyone posts about it. It's like, yeah, you thought Mitch Trubisky was, you thought Justin. Yeah, we thought every quarterback we've had was gonna be franchise QB. Because what else would you think until you know differently,
Yeah.
right?
Why are you making those
Um,
picks if you don't expect them to be great?
and we're gonna buy in every time. It doesn't matter. But I this team looks good even without Caleb out there.
We're putting Caleb in the best possible position too. Like we
Yeah.
didn't do Trubisky or Fields disservice when getting. I mean, two veteran great wide receivers, a rookie that looks pretty good at receiver, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, like a defense that can stop a lot of, I mean, most things, and then a line that's actually doing their job and keep giving him time. Like we didn't have this for in either the last two, so
Yeah, and I think a part of it to me, it was like it wasn't a rebuild until just 2 years ago. So
yeah,
all those guys came before the rebuild, and yeah, Justin Fields, like everyone's like he did. The Bears did him dirty. It's like they did him as much as service as he possibly could. He got through his rookie contract, and then got traded to a team that he wanted to go to, instead of us getting a better draft pick, perhaps. Um, so he actually ended up in a better position, and we ended up in a better position because of it. And I think that now it's kind of a different feeling, right?
yeah,
This preseason, even against the Chiefs, the coaching is different. It just a little more trustworthy. I think that the offenses look like more like you know um, some of those Monday Night Football exciting offenses, instead of just screen passes and run the ball
yeah.
up the middle a whole bunch. It's a little bit of stuff, and we're not even seeing anything that we're really gonna see.
Right, right. I pulled up that stat by the way. The Bears are the seventh team since 2009 to finish a preseason with a point differential of plus 60 or more, and the six previous teams all made the playoffs, including two teams that went on to win the Super Bowl.
That's awesome.
So,
Again, I that's why I was making a confession that I've been holding out on being super excited about the team and the season, because I know what position we're in. The rookie quarterback. We have we still have a super young team, and a first year offensive coordinator in our building.
mm-hmm.
And all that stuff kind of matters, but the feeling is different, definitely different. And what I've seen on Hard Knocks is like they're gelling. There's some chemistry there, and I
Yeah,
know those are the things that kind of make a difference in the long run. For the culture change, and that's kind of what we needed and what's happened.
right. Yeah,
So my point was, all those other guys, when they talk about those other quarterbacks, it's like that's before the rebuild. We went through a rebuild. They're like, Caleb's in the best position now because that's the way Poles set it up. He
mm,
could have got a quarterback number one last year, but he literally should be arrested for how bad he robbed
yeah. I mean,
Carolina.
no matter how good Bryce Young ends up being, he will never be that good.
You just can't.
Yeah,
I mean, we got Caleb, DJ Moore. Uh, I think Tyreek Stevenson, a next year second pick. There's just a bunch of players on that list that just came from that one pick, uh, but I attribute it to Pools. And I think Bryce Young could be great still, but
yeah,
you're not going to live up to that, right?
yeah,
That's just difficult. But that's what teams do to get in that number one spot, and Carolina won't be the last team to do it either. There'll
right,
be I think a lot more teams, especially when you see this last class that came out, and if you missed out on one, you get a little
right.
more desperate. And if you spend a bunch of money on a veteran QB that doesn't pan out,
Yeah,
you know, like an Aaron Rodgers coming off injury, like what are the Jets going to do?
yeah,
Because they haven't made the playoffs for a long time, right?
yeah. It's been, gosh, it's been at least 4 years, right? It might even be longer than that.
Yeah. So that was the preseason game with the Chiefs, our last preseason game. Now we go into our long break, unfortunately, with with um, opening day coming up. Players that have been cut and starters moving forward. What do you have for us? Who did you see that bugged you or made you excited? Any of that? I know we did sign a couple defensive players this week.
Yeah,
So Poles is doing a little bit of tinkering on the defensive line.
yeah.
Not quite big splashes that maybe everyone thought we might make.
I did see something. 48 of the 53 players that made the roster, Poles drafted.
Wow.
Yeah,
So it is his team now.
yeah. I mean, that's going to be. Let's see. The only exceptions are Herbert, Komet, Jenkins, Jalen Johnson, Scales. So it's acquired. Sorry, not drafted. But
Yeah, I was gonna say DJ Moore, but
yeah,
still drafted or acquired.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That means he built the team.
yeah. He's. I mean, yeah. There's. I mean, and he's not going to get those 5 players. Are 5 players. I mean, are ones that are the exception that like. No, you did a good job on those ones. Like, you're not getting rid of Jalen Johnson or Jenkins or Komet or Herbert. I mean, Scales either. So, I mean, I think you did a good job. Uh, the thing that surprised me, and I talked to you a bit about this, is not keeping a third quarterback. Do you think they're going to try and make a move maybe for one that's out there? Or do you think they're just going to go 2 deep? That seems odd, especially when you have the third.
Yeah. Like we talked about, Austin Reed's back on the practice squad anyway. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe you just do it by need. You pick up if you need it. So, yeah, it's weird not to, because I think we kind of always have had several. You know, had a vet and then a couple others at least. What's happened as of recently? Anything? We placed Patrick Scales on injured reserve.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
This is on the Bears page, transactions. August 28th, placed long snapper Patrick Scales on reserved injured.
Oh, man.
28th also signed Micah Baskerville, Theo Benedict, Carlson,
I didn't
Cowart,
see it.
Curhan, and Johnson to the practice squad, and a whole list of other guys.
I'm glad to see that Theo Benedict, put on the practice squad at least.
Yeah, yeah. Dante Pettis on injured reserve as well. That was the 27th.
So we got to find a long snapper, right?
Yeah, yeah, and Dante Pettis is out, so he's kind of the return guy. But obviously, you have some people that can do that there. There's when we went to training camp, there was a whole list of a whole bunch of guys with Odunze in that group taking punts back. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens there.
Makes me nervous that one particular player might get put back there.
Yeah,
that we neither of
and
us.
he's a junior.
Yeah, and
his name ends with junior.
He likes to drop that ball, and makes me nervous.
He's fast as hell, but not with a football.
What needs to happen is somebody needs to catch it and then pitch it to him.
Yeah.
Just for some reason he can't return this, but we could do this way.
Yeah, Dooney's just gonna catch it for you, and then you run, save his legs. Let's see who else. Waived a couple other. Obviously, we're cutting down, so there's a ton of players on that list. A couple of the guys that I liked that did get cut, of course, Austin Reed, but picked back up for the practice squad. That Colin Johnson, he also got picked back up. But one I really liked is Greg Stroman, because he's been on the squad for a few years. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't get picked up somewhere else, I imagine he'll be back in the building here and there if there's an injury or a spot opens up.
Yeah.
We did release Blazing Game and then re-signed him on the 28th. I don't know. Maybe he's our long snapper. because we did release him on the 27th and then re-signed him. I do not know.
Yeah.
So yeah, a ton of players out on the market. A bunch of GMs call it the second draft, because there's over 1,000 players that enter basically availability real quick.
Yeah.
And we probably have a pretty good waiver wire order.
Yeah.
But um, I think we're in pretty good shape right now. Anyway,
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's not really a lot that I would say that we. I mean, other than the rumors, that would be cool, but I don't know how much I actually want him. Is that Micah Parsons? But because you're gonna have
yeah,
to give up a
depending
lot.
on what you have to give up for him, right? And then of course there's always the re-signing. He Bulls wants to make sure we have long-term depth.
Yeah.
So let's look at the depth chart because we have especially defense here. We do have Montez Sweat, Dominic Robinson, Austin Booker for defensive end. And defensive tackle was Andrew Billings, Zach Pickens, Javon Dexter, and Byron Cowart. And then defensive end, DeMarcus Walker, Jacob Martin, and Daniel Hardy. So, I mean, third stringer Austin Booker and Daniel Hardy both made the squad, and their depth. And I think if you rotate those guys in on either side, you can keep Sweat. You can keep his legs fresh, or you can keep the other side, keep those guys rotating, keep them all fresh.
Yeah.
Um, we got linebackers. T.J. Edwards, Sewell did make the squad. We kind of had him on the bubble because he hasn't really shown out like he thought he would. And his brother is a lineman on the Lions. It's kind of a heading for a Hall of Fame career. Is how good he's looked. I won't even attempt to say our other linebacker's name. Amen Ogambong. Of course, on Tremaine Edwards and Jack Sanborn. The two linebackers back there. Yeah, our secondary, I think, is one of our most deep positions. Kevin Byard, Jonathan Owens, got Kyler Gordon, Josh Blackwell, Tyreek Stevenson, Terrell Smith, Jalen Johnson, of course, and Jalen Jones. And then, of course, you got Juice Quan Brisker, Elijah Hicks on that safety as well. So that's going to be cool to watch. I picked up in our other fantasy league that we're in the Bears defense because I believe they're going to be a high scoring defense this year. I think people are
Yeah.
sleeping on them, and I think that the way they got going at the end of the year, and how they looked at this preseason, it just looks tighter. You know, the first preseason game, again in the Hall of Fame game, they kind of came out and felt the same. It was like their first squad kept like marching, kind of the bend but don't break. They didn't score any points or just got a field goal at the end of the drive. But then after that, it kind of stopped them from moving at all. And it's kind of been like that consistently since then. So that's one of the great things moving forward this year. I think that we have for us is the defense. So potentially Caleb doesn't have to be great. He just has to be good and have ball security, just not a ton of 3-and-outs.
Yeah.
Just keep it moving forward and keep defense from having to be on the field all the time. I think that was part of the problem last year. Just 3-and-outs. It's like, how good can you be when you're out there the whole time?
Right. I mean, that's a common thing I have to always say. Like, for like even like the Hawkeyes, like the defense is so good, but like people are like, yeah, but why do they give up so many points against like Michigan? Because the offense is that bad that the defense never gets a break, and they literally
Yeah.
just never get to do anything. So I
Yeah.
mean, things like that. But yeah, I think as long as we keep our defense off the field as much as possible, obviously they're going to be on the field, but you kind of keep the chains moving. You even if it's not a 3-and-out, but it's a 6-and-out or whatever, like that gives them just an extra breather. So as long as we can get some first downs here and there, and then obviously scoring drives to win the game, but I just have a hard time not being excited.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Um, Again, I'm really excited about this defense. I just think it's one of the shining stars that hasn't been talked about because of all the pieces they picked up in draft for offense, and then kind of, that's been where all of our struggles have kind of constantly been. So that's where the tension goes. But our defense is right there at the top. I think
Yeah,
as long as we can uh, get the uh, get the run stopped
yeah,
like we did at last year, we'll be okay.
and
Because if we force you to throw the ball, we have the secondary now to stop it.
yeah, and I think we have a good defensive line that can um, hold quite a bit of the run. So
Yeah, at least make it hard on you, right?
right,
Moving the pocket, penetrating the pocket a little bit, one side or the other, so
mm-hmm.
it forces them to be a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Um, so the good news is with the podcast, I've let it go past a half hour, and it's still going.
sweet,
So we don't have to stop anything.
yeah,
um, yeah. So I think it always hurts, because you love all the players. It seems like, especially if you're watching them, it's been a month now of just watching them every week, and then we got Hard Knocks, so it's even cooler because you get these backstories on these guys that aren't maybe superstars, and then they get cut,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So you get emotionally attached to all these guys that are,
So it made Hard Knocks emotional this week.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, I saw a video on X that was talking about Hard Knocks, and they said the Bears broke Hard Knocks
Yeah,
because of their storylines. Like it makes it makes because they don't cuss and do all this stuff. It makes it difficult for Hard Knocks because there isn't these disruptive, like, hey, these guys are, this franchise is in shambles kind of storyline like they
right,
typically have, right?
right. The Jets did that for him, though. Or Giants did that for them.
Yeah, and the Jets previously,
Yeah,
and I mean, how lucky were they that Aaron Rodgers gets 4 plays,
yeah,
and then it's just collapse.
right.
Yeah. So, do you hope we pick anybody else up moving forward here over the next week or so?
No, I think we hold unless there's like something great that comes across the table for not an arm and a leg, then maybe. But I truly think we ride with this team. Maybe make some moves at the trade deadline if we're kind of making that push. But I think we're pretty set.
I don't want to break your heart, but if you look at the Bears website in the depth chart and go to special teams, kick returns is Velus Jones Jr. and DeAndre Carter, and punt return is DeAndre Carter and Velus Jones Jr. So there's a little bit of stuff to be concerned about there, but maybe they got him some sticky gloves.
Yeah, just he's got stick 'em on him. Just like Radford, he can't catch a
Or
kick return.
maybe that's DeAndre Carter's job. He just catches it and gives it to Velus.
Yeah,
Maybe like you said. Because there isn't a second or third string listed, unfortunately.
it's just
Um,
always a reverse. Just Velas taking it from and just
but
not
Eberflus and Poles, we know you're listening every week to this podcast. Make sure you keep trying out guys in those positions for us. We just want to make sure that we have depth if we need it, which we'll need it. Don't let them fumble more than once.
I'm sure we could get Justin back. I mean, it sounds like he's taking punt returns and kick returns.
Hey, we'll give you that sixth back.
Yeah.
But then you got to get rid of somebody on the squad too. So
True.
hey, we'll give you Velas as well. Yeah, we owe you one for that Chase Claypool trade.
Yeah.
So last but not least is Hard Knocks episode 4. It was a tearjerker this week.
Yeah.
Um, we got one more episode after this, and they do a good job on figuring out what storylines are going to be following what ones. Honestly, they just tape everybody and they figure out which is the storyline and which one isn't, because we just saw how many cameras they have.
Yeah.
They're even taping people's moms and girlfriends up in the stands. Eberfluz's daughters,
Yeah.
they're taping everything. So Hard Knocks episode 4. What'd you think?
Like you said, it was a great episode. Sad episode, but
Yep.
I had quite a bit of notes that were just some random funny points. Theo buying the Clorox wipes instead of the dude wipes.
Yeah.
That was just a really random, like, what the hell?
The poor guy, you could tell he was like he got roasted for it and was definitely like, oh crap, that's not something I should have done, I guess. Truly did not know that was a bad thing.
Yeah. Odunze's snack run was like a little kid that just got his first credit card or something from his parents, but
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this. He snacks like my wife. That's my wife's snack run. It's like Sour Patch. It's like very tart candies.
yeah, it was
But
a lot of that.
Yeah, sour stuff. Of course, the Badgett storyline's good with his dad. It's cool to see that.
Yeah,
So we have a Olympian on our Hard Knocks as well as a world champion arm wrestler. And then of course the sad part that we're referring to or repeatedly referring to is Ian Wheeler, and then we both really liked him and wanted him to make the team,
yeah.
and probably could have and might have squeezed out Bayless Jones Jr.
I truly didn't realize he got hurt in that game, and then he
I was
didn't even
gonna-
look like
I
he
was-
realized that.
I was
Like,
going
how
to
bad it
mention
was.
it to you. That dude is pretty tough, man.
Yeah, he got
He
up
tore the
and
thing,
walked
'cause-
off.
Yeah, and he was waving for him. He knew, like, hey, and then his mom was like, oh, he's limping. This man was like, yo, yeah, hey, I tore some. Oh, no, they took a helmet. He thought he was bruised it,
Yeah,
and then he knew. But yeah, that was rough to see him get injured and then come out and see his mom and all that.
yeah. It almost looked like it was
Huh.
just like a rolled ankle the way he was limping. Although you could kind of see, not when he's walking off the field, but when he's walking to the tent, you can see his
Yeah.
leg wobble a little bit
Yeah.
as he's stepping. So it's like, oh, okay, you can definitely see it now. But him walking on the field, it looked like it was just a rolled ankle or something that he got hurt.
Yeah, definitely a tough guy. And then of course, this just how brutal the NFL is,
Yeah.
having playing so well and getting so close, and then that happens to you in your last preseason game. But that's part of it, and I think it'll make him a better player. Like who was it? Poles. I was talking to him. That was saying, man, now you get to take a year. We get to redshirt you basically. You get to sit back and learn, and then come back even stronger, smarter, better, and hopefully get in a roster spot.
Right, and it was cool that he saw, like, he's like, hey, you got my phone, like, if you gotta cry, you gotta just talk, you gotta do any of that, like, you call me, because I know it can be bad, just, you call me, like, he just, like, reassure, like, telling him over and over again, like, do not just let it sit, you call me, like, that was very cool to see.
Yeah, that is why I think we have such a good culture now,
Yeah,
and such a better feeling team. It's just like they're all kind of buy into each other because everyone's in it together,
yeah,
and you feel that. And then of course Adrian Colbert.
that is an odd duck.
Yeah,
He,
definitely.
he was very cool, and that story about him getting hit by the car was really sad, but that man is an interesting dude.
Where did he go to college?
Where did he go?
Was it Stanford?
I can't remember now. Let's see, football player. Let's see.
Because I feel like it's got to be California.
Yeah, it's
He definitely feels like a California guy.
let's see. He is Miami.
Oh wow. Okay, interesting.
University of Miami and University of Texas. He played at both of those. So Texas is definitely doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This-
No, but it also is a different era of college football where kids are going way
yeah,
further away from them where they have, and they're bouncing around, as well. So multiple colleges and that. Um, yeah, Hard Knocks does a good job of following those storylines, like I said before, and that Ian Wheeler one was a good one.
yeah. I think I had. Let's see. The running back coaches.
Yeah,
Uh, they are fun. I like them. I knew the
yeah,
guy
they're
was full of
awesome.
energy, but now I'm forgetting her name, and I feel awful doing it. Um, but she was a great, like, she was a good balance to him, where he's running around, say, like, kind of beating you up a little bit, and then you see, uh, her, what is,
Yeah, they said it's good cop, bad cop, like
Jennifer King.
Jennifer King. Yeah,
Yes. She'll kind of give more of a breakdown of like what he meant and kind of build you up a little bit about it and kind of just give you that little pick me up
yeah,
that you needed.
yeah, and I like them both. They are good contrast back and forth, and man, they're up in there and involved, and it's cool to see. Again, I think that's people like that are good for the culture. They're good, they care, and and they said that about Ian Wheeler and about all the guys in the room.
Yeah.
Um, they love their players and they want them to be successful. So it's cool to see instead of especially after we kind of what all that came out of Brian Flores and Tua and all that stuff. It's like how
Right.
much positivity, you know, being negative and being positive are both contagious, right? So
Right.
it's so having that, and that's good for all the young guys that are in the room.
Yeah.
Um, it was an awesome episode, and it's like, oh, well, what's this next one going to be? Because it's like, do we wait for the opening day, or is it just as practices over the next couple weeks, right?
Right. And then we don't. I mean, all the storylines that they were following are gone.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Except for Badge, and I guess you can go in harder on his dad and
yeah.
arm wrestling.
Yeah.
Um, which that was kind of a cool part to see. I get nervous watching the guys arm wrestle like that, man. It's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, you see
it's like
some guys like
somebody's
arms don't
arm's
get
gonna
good.
snap, man.
Yeah, that's scary.
And I'm sure he snapped arms before, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't would not
Yeah.
want to be any part of that.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's no, thank you.
uh, so kind of our last segment here before we get out of here because we're in the last 10 minutes of the episode. Um, what do you think? You had a player you said you wanted to
Yep.
name or
Who's that? Who's that Bears player? Michael has. You have more of knowledge of past players and stuff, so I figured I'd get some stats or facts, and then we'll put together this little thing where I'll give you all of a rundown of it, and then see if you can figure out who it is.
okay?
All right. So, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got about 10 things here, 10 stats or little highlights that I'll give you. So the first one is
Okay.
played for Chip Kelly, cornerback. He was a part of the Bears' early 2000s defense. 7 seasons total in the NFL, all with the Bears. Played for New Hampshire University. Pro Bowler.
Oh,
Walter Payton Award winner in college. Part of the 1999 NFL Draft, and he played running back in college.
Hmm. Cornerback that played a running back
Yep.
at what, Oregon or something?
New Hampshire University for Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly was at New Hampshire. Jeez, I do not know. I don't even have a guess.
I did barely picked way too hard of a first one, but Jerry Azuma.
Oh, I know who that is.
He was a starting cornerback for the Bears for a little while.
He was
The
actually,
guy.
yeah, he was good.
10 interceptions, 384 tackles, 48 starts, 29 pass defense, 6.5 sacks, and 6 6 forced fumbles with 1 recovery.
What I would say I remember about him is that he was just a hard hitter.
Yeah.
He like hit guys, not really tackled them. You know what I mean? Wow, that's cool. That running back to cornerback.
Yeah,
'Cause that's not like
I've seen
typical.
like wide receivers to cornerbacks and stuff.
Right. That's an easy transition, right? But those
Yeah.
are like kind of too far away positions. I guess
I-
depending on what running back. I mean, I don't know.
I didn't get to see his like height stats and stuff, but I'd be curious to see because I mean that'd make him kind of a small, in theory, a small corner, right? I guess he's 5'10", so I mean that's not terribly short.
Corner, like you sacrifice height with speed, you know.
Yeah.
And reaction time. So if he got good cuts, you know, that helps. Yeah, and he kind of missed out. He was gone by the time 06 rolled around, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been
because that was like, because that team, like obviously that 05, 06 defense, that era was very stout.
Yeah.
That's one thing I will mention about Hard Knocks before we get out of here is that was funny. A funny thing that Austin Reed said. He's like talking about great teams or whatever of all time, and he said the preseason Bears, the 72 Dolphins, the 85 Bears.
Let's talk about the 2024 Chicago Bears preseason team.
It is a good feeling, though. Honestly, I know it doesn't mean anything, but it is a good feeling that we have it's a win's a win, and establish that culture. You know what I mean? And I think starting the year off versus the Titans at home is going to help. I saw a couple people mention on NFL Network or whatever. They were talking about how the schedule's tailor-made for him to be successful.
Yeah.
Because 5 of the first 7 teams we face, or something like that, 5 of the first 9 teams are slated to be teams that have poor records. So, so we have kind of everything in front of us right now. And again, I'm trying to keep my expectations because I know there's going to be some slips and slides, but I just don't want to be in position where we're getting blown out and and our defense is getting walked over because they're out there all game and so on and so forth. But I feel like Poles works really hard to make sure that we have all the pieces and will continue to do so. So if there's not a Montez Sweat out there, there's an Ngaku or someone we pick up, or whatever, to kind of bolster us. So
right, yeah,
I don't know. We're in a good position.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling.
It really is. It really is. And I feel like I've been talked about it before. I feel like we have some PTSD left over. So next week's episode, we'll be going into our 8th episode. You're going off on a quick Labor Day run to the East Coast. So he's going to check in at Foxborough and a couple other stadiums, see what they're. No, I'm just kidding. It is a down week though, so we'll have to figure out some cool segments to fill in.
Bama and Iowa.
Yeah, that's right. We do have college football this weekend, It's of course an Alabama cupcake game. I think we have.
Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it plays in
Yeah.
Kentucky. I don't think any Kentucky team is slated to be ranked, but
Yeah. Bears or Iowa plays Illinois State, so pretty easy weekend.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can move the ball
Yeah.
offensively.
Yeah.
Defensively, we know they can. Special thanks to Julie Burheit and Lindsay O'Brien for letting us do this, and of course our weekly. Good night, Richard. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media links. Uh, hit up those sponsor product codes, and make sure you listen to every episode because it definitely helps us. We're up on YouTube and all of our videos are up on YouTube and a couple other places, right? I mean, you can see them on probably on Reels on Facebook
Yeah.
and TikTok. And
Yeah.
looking forward to the season. We got our draft is coming up as well. So there's some slots still open there. It's cool to see after the first draft is out of the way, kind of how it shakes out.
Yeah.
That's a unique draft too because QBs are very highly rated in that draft.
Yeah. Way too. Yeah. Those points are crazy.
um, so we will see everyone next week. Make sure you tune in. Barely maintaining. And we're out. Oh, that's so nice.